Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Brum from the TV show Brum. I used that yesterday, don't care. Let's go with a different one. Let's go with Y-Bird from Playdays. That wasn't very smooth. Anyway, coming up today, we're going to talk about Adam Cole losing his goddamn mind, dropping F-bombs, assaulting producers, trashing equipment after storming out of an interview. After that, I'm going to tell you the real reason Sammy Guevara returned to AEW television this week per Tony Khan. He's been on the phone. And after all of that, Seth Rollins has declared the empty arena era a golden era of pro wrestling.
Plus, it's finally been announced that SummerSlam will not be taking place at a venue. 3 major injuries coming off the back of AEW Dynamite. And Cody announces his retirement. Well, sort of. This is the news.
And hey, we're not even going to talk about the ratings this week, so you can all calm the hell down. Anyway, let's kick things off. Let's talk about this Adam Cole thing. So if you were online last night, if you were paying any attention to Twitter or whatever, you'd have probably seen this come up. I mean, how could you miss it? It's kind of nuts. So many people atted me about this overnight. We could not talk about it on the news, even though it is almost certainly a worked shoot if you kind of watch it and see how it unfolds and look at Pat McAfee's reaction on social media. You know, they're working. Either way, it's a lot of fun. So, Adam Cole, former NXT champion Adam Cole, was on the Pat McAfee show. And he lost his bloody mind. He went mental. So basically, Cole blew up when McAfee stated that Cole had surrounded himself with talented people in the Undisputed Era to achieve success. McAfee called this very smart and everything else. Now, Cole, the character, took this as Pat saying, well, the only reason you're successful is because you have these people around you and you cheat and all this stuff, and that wasn't what McAfee meant, but Cole said he was being a total dick. He shot on McAfee's career in the National Hand-Egg League. Obviously, McAfee said, well, I was the punter of the decade. Just kicking the ball or whatever. And McAfee clarified, no, I'm not saying that the only reason you're successful is because of Undisputed. It was just the main reason, blah, blah, blah. Cole blew up again. He said he was the longest reigning, I almost said XFL, NXT champion ever. It was all on his own. He did it all his own doing. McAfee chimed in and said, well, I mean, we watched the takeovers. You had people interfere. You had distractions, whatever else. But that's smart. That's fine. It's cool, man. It's cool. To this, Cole just flipped out totally. Oh yeah, McAfee, insulted his height as well because lol. Cole flipped out. He smashed a microphone, gave it the old LB supper. He got up and he said, F you, Pat. I took time away from my family to do your effing stupid show, you effing B. He shoved a producer, multiple FUs here and there, effing and jeffing all over the place. You piece of S. He stomped out. There was a big furore, a big kerfuffle, shenanigans all over the place. There was a bunch of stuff going on Twitter after it as well, but yeah, Pat McAfee being a little worker. Did you catch this, Adam? What did you think of it?
I've got to say, I absolutely loved this. Yeah, it's just the way it builds. It's 2 minutes that is just chef's kiss when it comes to, like you say, work shoots. It's the bit where he's wound him up, and Adam Cole said, look, NXT champion, longest reigning ever of, in history. And Pat McAfee goes, hey, good, hey, I'm not having a go. Smart. And I mean, considering the size of you, that's really good. Yeah. And Adam Cole just goes, oh, we're doing the whole size thing, are we? And then just go to it. And I'm like, go on, Adam, chin him. Yes, you are all welcome to use the phrase that I believe I coined. I don't think anyone else has ever used it before. It's a work. Of course it's a work, but we enjoy. I don't really know what it's a work for. Like what, we're going to get McAfee versus Cole at SummerSlam? But regardless, if this is something to keep, let's say, Cole in the conversation until maybe he moves to the main roster, or Raw and SmackDown, hate calling it the main roster, maybe he moves to Raw and SmackDown immediately after SummerSlam, who knows? But either way, if you haven't seen it, I guarantee it will brighten up your Friday if you watch that.
Yeah, it's just good theatre, isn't it? It's fun. I love this stuff.
Speaking of SummerSlam, it is not going to be taking place inside a venue. I know what you're thinking. Surely this was the news about 2 months ago. No, it's only just been confirmed by WWE that it will not be taking place in an arena, despite, the ongoing global bastard and the fact that that's insane if we try to put it on. WWE released a statement yesterday saying, in coordination with our local partners, government officials and TD Garden, WWE SummerSlam and related events will no longer take place in Boston. Refunds are available. We're grateful to the city of Boston for their long-standing partnership and look forward to holding WWE events at TD Garden in the future. And then pushes the fact it's obviously going to be streaming on the WWE Network on August 23rd, Sunday, August 23rd, the day after TakeOver Triple X. And information regarding a new location for the event is forthcoming. Let's be honest, it's probably going to be the Performance Center, as with everything else, Andy.
Yeah, we all knew this was coming. I mean, the mayor of Boston was pretty insistent on, well, probably not going to be possible here, brothers, but WWE held off on it for quite a while. They've made the official announcement now, even though we all knew we're probably going to end up with an empty arena show. Stephanie McMahon recently said that she thinks fans will be back sooner rather than later. I don't know about that one. It's a tough situation. You're going to see a gradual unraveling, I think. You're going to see what we've seen in New Japan, where they have 30% of the arena only, not full capacity. You'll probably see drips and drabs before everyone else is back through. But, you know, no great surprises here, man. This thing is not getting better. Graphs are going like this all over the place. It's not so much a second wave as it's more of just a constant wave that goes up and down and all over the goddamn place. So, yeah, man, it's all dependent on how the world quells this thing, and we've not done a very good job so far, so let's see where we are in a few months, I think.
Basically, every WWE pay-per-view going forward until we properly sort this out is going to be stomping grounds. 30% capacity and a bit rubbish.
Yeah, exactly.
But, look, it's a real tough situation for everyone involved, because every single fan is desperate to either go to shows or to just see fans at the arena. But if we do this wrong, it's only going to make things worse. So, you know, if we could, I would have fans back tomorrow. But you can't guarantee people's safety. Until we can do that, we have to maintain all the medical advice that we are being given. Because, you know, temperature checks, etc., can only do so much, can't they?
Yeah, exactly. The tests are never 100% reliable. There's no perfect way to do things. You can try and do things the safest way possible, but it's never going to be 100% safe in the current environment. It's just be as safe as we possibly can, man. Let's not hurry people back in. Let's protect people's health and well-being and do the right thing. I know we're all desperate to hear that noise again and hear the roar of the crowd and all these things, but man, if you watch these New Japan shows even, like, they're not allowed, I think there's some regulation in place stating that, hey, don't make too much noise because that might project stuff out, and it's just kind of like watching this sterile thing where there's the occasional ooh and like a little applause and stuff, and it's just, nah, let's wait. Let's be patient.
It was weird. I watched Impact yesterday, as you should. It's a really good show. But it was surreal because it's being held in just a completely empty arena, unlike AEW and WWE. And it was just mad to see, you know, EC3 do a run-in or EY interrupt the world champion or whatever it may be. And to just complete silence, to just the announcers popping off about it. But like we said, safety first, everyone. Yeah,
exactly. Be safe. Look after yourself. Look after other people, more importantly. Well, as importantly. Everyone's important. Hey. Tony Khan. Let's talk Tony Khan. That's a weird transition. But Tony Khan, yeah, cool. Talking about ending Sammy Guevara's suspension. Sammy was back on TV this week. A lot of people talked about that. First time in 30 days. Suspended, of course, for awful jokes made towards... why did I bracket jokes there? It was obviously a joke. It was just a terrible, disgusting one that should never have been said. Made towards Sasha Banks 4 years ago on a podcast, resurfaced. AEW didn't know about them. He was suspended. His pay was docked. He went to a Jacksonville women's group. And he had to undergo sensitivity training. So a lot of people were like, is 30 days enough? Has he learned his lesson? Well, Tony Khan spoke to Sports Illustrated about this. Why did he bring him back? All this stuff. Khan said, I meant when I said about reevaluating Sammy's status within the company based on his contract. Sammy needed to make a lot of strides in order to keep his job and make amends for stuff he shouldn't have said. None of us knew he said those things, and it's stuff that was years old, but that doesn't make it right. He then went on, stating that Guevara went through 4 weeks of sensitivity training. It was on matters of tolerance, gender, race relations, why people's words matter. He was apparently very contrite, that's a quote, during this period, and Khan believes he used the time to become a better person. In closing, he said that he brought Guevara back because he has shown that he is very sorry and that he can change, adding that he has turned a terrible comment into something positive. So it's like we said yesterday, without kind of like really direct, sensitive knowledge of the matter, being around Sammy Guevara, we can't sit here and go, yeah, he's changed, it's fine, or no, he hasn't done enough time or whatever. It's something that's really hard to appraise, and Sammy obviously has to now demonstrate these behavioural changes going forward and make sure something like that never happens again. Tony Khan and AEW are obviously satisfied that he has. So that's why he was brought back to television. You know, we can go back and forth on this. There was a lot of talk on this on Twitter yesterday. I had a lot of mentions about this, but it is what it is. He's back now. He's going to roll moving forward. I think the only thing that we can hope for is that Sammy has emerged from this a much better person, and yeah, never going to happen again, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like positive stuff coming from Tony Khan, but as you again hit the nail on the head here, Andy, we have to wait and see how Sammy demonstrates that going forward. That's all we can really say. Like you said, there's no specific time that means you've definitely, you know, served your time and learnt from your experience. Yeah. It's a case of learning, like you say, and moving forward from here.
For sure.
Let's talk a little bit about AEW's show on Wednesday, though, because there was a fantastic Falls Count Anywhere match. The bad news coming out of that is 3 of the 4 competitors have come out of that match injured. The Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer reports that the Blade is probably the most banged up. You probably guess where this happened. He went for like a tope through the ropes, missed the books, and then also seemed to miss the table that appeared to be there to sort of break his fall. He was wrestling quite gingerly following that. And both books are hurt as well. Various bruises. Matt has done his elbow after an elbow drop. I assume that was the elbow drop from at the finish when he was jumping off one of the tunnels. Nick reportedly is shaken up from a swanton bomb. Again, I assume that was the finish between the two of them coming off the tunnels through the table with the Butcher and the Blade on them. But that's pure speculation from my part. Let's just hope they get well soon, because that was a spectacular match, and AEW's tag team division, if you no doubt saw that tweet yesterday listing all the teams in it, is stacked at the moment.
Yeah, sounds like a rough night at the office for these dudes. Not a massive surprise, I guess. I mean, not to undermine the performers and the safety measures they take, but it was a high-risk match. There was lots of weapons, lots of dives, lots of, yeah, like you said, they're jumping off the goddamn entrance tunnels and crazy stuff. It was a really good match. These people put their bodies on the line for our entertainment every single week. You've got to take a step back and appreciate that every now and then. It's not on us to tell people what to do with their bodies. It's not up to us to sit here and go, hey, you shouldn't have done all those crazy moves. It's up to them. You know, we're just people sitting here in some peanut gallery thousands of miles away. So here's hoping they make a speedy recovery. The Young Bucks are very important to AEW. I love the Butcher and the Blade. I like mid-carders more than I like main eventers most time, and the Butcher and the Blade are one of my favourite acts in AEW. They're not perfect, but they're just so metal. It's hard for me not to get into them.
Yeah, they're great.
And the Butcher plays in Every Time I Die as well, so it's like, how could they not be the most metal act in wrestling? Let's talk Seth the Chef Rollins. He's probably into metal, I don't know. Parkway Drive, he likes them. He has hit Twitter to call this a golden era of professional wrestling. Here's what he tweeted. From coast to coast and sea to sea, cool. I don't know if there's ever been this much incredible wrestling going on at one time. Taking nothing away from past generations, they inspired and paved the way, but we're damn sure keeping up and then some. Hashtag iron sharpens iron, hashtag the golden age. Interesting timing on this. A lot of companies are still shut down and a lot of companies aren't producing maybe their best work. However, I kind of appreciate the Monday Night Messiah just spreading a little positivity, because he's not always been like that on Twitter, so fair play. I sense you disagree.
I'm torn on this one. Look, at the end of the day, he's kind of right. If everything went back to normal right now, he's right. It's 100% the best time to be a wrestling fan in quite some time. Not only have you got WWE in terms of Raw and SmackDown, but also NXT doing great stuff. AEW has obviously really raised the bar for everyone. And let's not forget some of the other promotions. NWA, Impact Wrestling. Like, prior to all this going belly up because of the ongoing global bastard or having to completely change, there's so much competition out there. It's rare that we've seen it. Obviously, shame about the whole British independent scene, etc. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree with him. We were talking about this beforehand, and it's like he used to be a complete, I think the technical term is knobhead on Twitter, and now he's almost gone too far the other way. But like you say, I'm not going to have too much of a go because it's a nice sentiment, and we should all be nicer to each other, Andy.
Yeah, exactly, especially at the moment when there's so much piling down on us from all angles outside of wrestling. It's way important now to just not be dickheads. So don't.
Indeed.
Don't do that.
Should we move on to our final story here, Baldy?
Let's do it. Let's do it, Ginge.
Cody Rhodes. Cody, sorry, I'm not allowed to say the second half of his name. Cody is retiring. Well, sort of. Like we just sort of spring that on you at the end. There we go. Cody, thanks for all the stuff, mate.
Bye.
No, he's going to be retiring in 5 years, he has announced. He did an interview with PW Insider, basically talking about what he wants to do in his remaining time in the sport, saying, I'm only going to be doing this for 5 more years, and for the next 5 years... I mean, I kind of took that from the first half of that sentence, if I'm honest, Cody. I didn't think 5 more years in 20 years was going to be the end of that sentence. But anyway, I really want to carve out that bell-to-bell aspect of what I was able to do. I've always been very confident in myself in the ring, and I try not to be overly confident, but we're dealing with different athletes now, and we're drawing from all walks of life in terms of the wrestling world. I'm kind of happy. It's very rare that you hear wrestlers just sort of go, right, that's the definitive endpoint, that's what I'm heading towards. And Cody is doing sensational stuff in AEW, particularly with that TNT Championship. Yeah,
you've got to admire wrestlers who are able to kind of go out on their own terms and set a clear plan and kind of not grind their bodies and minds and souls and spirits to dust by this really relentless sport. But, you know, we're gonna quote the Terry Funk rule because that applies to every single pro wrestler on the planet. So I have a lot of respect for Cody's approach to pro wrestling, and I love the idea that he's not just going to wrestle until he's 60 or whatever and maybe risk his legacy and whatnot. So fair play to him, doing some really cool stuff with the TNT title at the moment, giving guys like Eddie Kingston a shot on national TV, Sonny Kiss stepping up, Mark Quinn, Jungle Boy, all these people coming out of these matches looking better than they went in. It's good stuff. He's a massive net positive for the business as a whole.
Yeah, he's like you say, he's elevated all those guys he's been working with. He's got a great wrestling mind, and yeah, it'll be exciting to see after those 5 years, once he fully dedicates that to doing more stuff backstage, how AEW transforms. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCultureWWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Arsh, who says, ignoring the fact that WWE doesn't believe in long-term booking, who do you think will have to be the one to beat Karrion Kross in the future? I think the Demon. He will seem unbeatable, especially if he kills Lee. They've booked Karrion Kross perfectly in NXT, haven't they, Andy?
Yeah, they've handled him really well. They've done a really good job of kind of setting him up as this force straight away. The presentation has been very effective in that regard. And, you know, levelling up against Dominik Dijakovic this week in terms of quality of opponent was a really good shout. Yeah, I mean, the Demon is perfect for that role, isn't he? Like, you could have Karrion Kross go undefeated for X amount of time. I'd do it for like over a year, man. Screw it, let's go. Go all in on things like this. Don't just do it for a couple of months and then go, meh. And then the Demon's the guy. It's so perfect because you lose nothing if you lose. I mean, he loses something if he loses in a minute. But if he's beaten by this invincible demigod within Finn Balor, then there's no shame in that whatsoever. You've nailed it. I have nothing, no alternative to offer. It's perfect.
Just had a thought. What happens if Survivor Series you have Drew McIntyre, Karrion Kross and the Bloody Fiend in a triple threat?
Jesus, Fenton, who's going to win that? How do you pick that? It's Brock Lesnar in there as well, why not?
Brock Lesnar, special guest referee. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the Demon's the right choice, and I think having him just tear through everyone else, people almost being unwilling to win a #1 contenders match because they know they've got to face Karrion Kross. I think it's a sensational piece of booking they've been doing since Karrion Kross arrived, and yeah, I wouldn't have him lose to Keith Lee. I think Keith Lee's going to hold the title effectively for about 7 weeks by the time Takeover Kiss 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 rolls around. But even so, that's the way it goes. You can't have babyface world champions in NXT, it seems.
No, they don't last. They're transitional. Good luck to Keith Lee against Karrion Kross. That's going to be a hell of a challenge. And Sub-Zero's grandmother is there as well, remember?
Exactly.
So.
Look at it this way, Keith. You're blatantly going to move to the main roster afterwards and make loads of money.
Exactly.
So it's fine. Second question today comes from, but what about the Attitude Era on Twitter, who says, I know it's not in real danger of going out of business, but considering the blatant counter-programming and rushed storylines, and in the past 2 weeks getting drubbed in the ratings, is NXT turning into Nitro, not AEW?
Well, it's an interesting observation. I don't necessarily think so, because to me the defining characteristics of Nitro, like as a product, were just the bollocks and the Vince Russo nonsense plaguing everything. Now, there is some crap on NXT, don't get me wrong. I hate that Shotzi Blackheart runs people over in a stupid toy tank. The Robert Stone thing is...
Don't you badmouth the Robert Stone brand. I'm a fully paid up member.
Opinion redacted. There's a lot of silly stuff on that show, but I don't think there's enough plaguing it across the board. I think the problem with NXT is that it doesn't do a good enough job of capturing the key demographic. So they've got to find programming that satisfies that. In terms of Nitro, maybe as far as the ratings trend go, but in terms of the product, I don't think there are many similarities there. I don't think it's as exciting as it used to be, don't get me wrong, but it's not just like total garbage, you know?
No. I think it's a yes or no answer, this. Yes, obviously, counter-programming and just doing stuff to try and snatch a rating is a little bit ridiculous. And I completely agree with what Alvarez said a while back, where he reminded himself of Nitro by looking at NXT, because they just... I think, actually, no, maybe it wasn't Alvarez, maybe it was Cornette. It was Jim Cornette, I do apologise. Oh. Jim Cornette was saying about how he used to watch Nitro burn through all their big matches, and then after a couple of years, it's like, right, well, what have we got to actually advertise and push forward now? But I do think that this week you saw NXT turn a corner a little bit. I think they at least attempted to draw a line. Now they have a focus, you know, sort of back to normal, back to takeovers on a Big Four weekend. You know, it was a bit convoluted. Obviously, have Keith Lee just dropped that NXT North American Championship, but it's made for a fascinating build and some great matches towards TakeOver. I think NXT should just be, and this is really patronising as I say it, just be happy with second place for the time being. Like, you're going to beat AEW when it comes to, like, Survivor Series time. But in the meantime, just make a good weekly show that around, a minimum of 650,000 people watch, because those don't care about whether or not you pop a rating or beat AEW, and no one should really care. We should just make two good wrestling shows, because there's enough to go round. Yeah. Like you said, but what about the Attitude Era? They're not going out of business. They're going to be absolutely fine. Remember the fact that they are primarily, or they should have been, a developmental brand, and just focus on what you're doing.
Yeah, I
chase the dream, not the competition.
I kind of wish they'd done that in the first place with this whole counter-programming thing. Like, I like a lot of stuff about and we're going way long here today, but who gives a crap? It's Friday. I like a lot of stuff about the Wednesday Night Wars, but at the end of the day, it was WWE's decision to go against AEW, not the other way around. And the thing is, if you threw NXT on, like, a Thursday night, right? Last week's Wrestling Observer, I believe Dave Meltzer said something like 900,000 people are watching these shows on DVR. And you've got to imagine a huge amount of those are because they have to pick and choose. These shows could conceivably be doing like around 1 million viewers a week if they were on different evenings, and high numbers in the demo and stuff, and concentrating on themselves and making the best product possible, and the whole wrestling scene would be healthier as a result of this. But no, WWE decided, hey, we're going to run head to head, and we're going to do 600 and they're going to do 700. We're going to split everything. That is the thing I hate the most about all of this, man. There are so much fun stuff about going head-to-head in this, but in terms of overall viewership, man, you didn't have to do that, Vince, but you did, and here we are.
Just you wait till AEW Dark comes to TV and we get main event featuring Brock Lesnar. So
the Thursday Night Wars, both shows doing 100K.
Final question today comes from a local lad, Dan Brotherton, who says, Who do you think will be the one to take the TNT title off Cody? I reckon it'll be Matt Cardona, love from Newcastle.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in Matt Cardona doing that. Cody was speaking about him yesterday again, so I think there's a very good chance. I still think it's going to be MJF. I think it's going to be a while from now, but MJF is getting really pissy at the moment. Like on on Dynamite this week when he was squashing Griff Garrison, he was making such a big thing about being undefeated and all this, and he's always talking about, hey, well, I'm like top of the rankings, and how does Cody have a belt? I beat him and all this stuff. So I think they're planting seeds for a rematch there. I think it'll be MJF. I think it'll be about 3 or 4 months from now, Phil, because the open challenges are chef's kiss.
Absolutely. MJF's an obvious one. Darby Allin would be my other suggestion. A final sort of crowning glory of him finally being able to defeat Cody for a title could be very interesting. But yeah, gun to my head, I'd have to go with MJF right now. Let's move on to today's and finally. And I'm not sure if you've seen this, Andy. Sekiro Arts last night tweeted Lance Archer regarding Simon Miller, basically warning some of Lance's potential victims, to which Lance Archer responded, haha, who dis warning my victims? Then Sekiro Arts explained it was our very own Simon Miller, to which Lance Archer responded with a GIF threat, basically. Lance Archer attacking Colt Cabana. Simon Miller responded, please don't throw me through the roof, to which Lance Archer said, if it's a low ceiling, well... So, good luck, Simon Miller. In fact, no, we're not going to stand for this. Lance Archer, I hope you're watching this. Lance Archer, if you think you can just come and get Simon Miller, well, you got another thing coming. If you want to get your hands on Simon Miller, you got to go through Andy Murray first.
Absolutely bloody nuts. No. I will not fight Lance Archer. I would not fight anyone. I'm a pacifist, but especially not a man who yeets people through roofs on national television. I'm
Lance
scared
Archer,
of
I'm the human version of Scrappy Doo, and you and I can go. Let us know your thoughts on that. Please don't tell Lance Archer I said that. On Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. You can follow both of us. Andy, where can people get you, particularly Lance Archer?
Lance Archer can get me at Adam Wilborn.
And Lance Archer can get me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Help, I've been thrown through a ceiling. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Subscribe to What Culture Wrestling wherever you get your podcast from. The Daily Wrestling Podcast, including, of course, Wrestle Culture with the hashtag Pretty Good Quiz today. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Sorry, Phil.